Have you ever looked back at everything that happened and wondered why they picked you? It was not just random bad luck. They saw your deep warmth, your boundless ability to feel, and they saw a perfect target. But here is the hook, the hidden truth about crossing an empath. By trying to break you, they actually triggered the sequence of their own total destruction. They thought you were just soft. They mistook your kindness for weakness and your patience for endless tolerance. But they fundamentally misunderstood what an empath actually is. You are not a doormat. You are a deeply intuitive force of nature. When they decided to play their dark little games with your heart, they made the single biggest mistake of their entire life. You see, a narcissist lives in a constant state of emotional starvation. They are an empty void, frantically searching for someone to fill them up. When they found you, they thought they struck absolute gold. You had everything they lacked: genuine joy, real connections, and a profound sense of peace. They wanted to steal your light and claim it as their very own. For a while, the illusion actually worked. They mirrored your best qualities, pretending to be your perfect match. You gave them the benefit of the doubt because that is just who you are. You look for the good in people, even when the red flags are waving right in your face. It is part of your beautiful nature, but it also made you blind to the trap they were setting. Slowly, the mask began to slip. You started noticing the subtle put-downs, the strange shifts in mood, the way everything somehow became your fault. You tried to fix it. You poured even more love into the void, hoping it would finally be enough. But that is the tragedy of loving a narcissist. There is no amount of love in the world that can ever fill a bottomless pit. They pushed and pushed, testing your boundaries to see exactly how much you would endure. They wanted to slowly drain your energy until you were just a shadow of yourself. It is a slow, agonizing process of psychological erosion. But in their arrogance, they forgot one crucial detail. An empath's spirit is not something that can just be broken and swept away forever. Underneath your gentle exterior, there is a core of absolute steel. You may bend, you may even break down and cry, but you never actually shatter. You feel the pain deeply, processing every ounce of the trauma. And that is exactly where your true power lies. While they run from their demons, you face yours head-on. That willingness to feel is your ultimate weapon. The breaking point never looks the way they expect it to. It is usually quiet. It happens in a moment of pure clarity when you suddenly realize that you are fighting for someone who is secretly at war with you. The fog lifts. You see the manipulation, the lies, and the desperate emptiness hiding behind their arrogant smirk. The illusion simply shatters into pieces. And then it stops. Just like that. The endless supply of understanding and forgiveness you freely gave them completely dries up. They wake up one day and realize the emotional bank account is empty. This is the exact moment the tables turn. The empathy that they ruthlessly exploited is suddenly withdrawn, leaving them alone with the one thing they truly fear, themselves. This is the beginning of their slow, devastating collapse. They thought they were the ones completely in control of the game, pulling all the strings from the shadows. They never anticipated that you would actually wake up. Now, we are going to explore exactly what happens to them when an awakened empath finally walks away. Spoiler alert, it destroys their whole world. To truly understand their collapse, you have to look at the narcissist's internal wiring. They do not experience the world the way you do. Every interaction is a transaction, every relationship a mirror designed to reflect a flawless image back at them. When you leave, that mirror instantly shatters. They are left staring at the ugly, unvarnished truth of who they are. Without your brilliant energy to feed on, they begin to emotionally starve. It is a desperate, frantic hunger. They need someone to blame, someone to absorb their deep-seated shame. But you are no longer there to play the emotional sponge. That toxic waste has nowhere to go now but straight back into their own mind. It begins to poison them from the inside out completely. They will scramble to replace you, of course. They always do. But here is the secret reality of their next victim. They will never be you. The narcissist will try to recreate the exact same dynamic, but it will feel incredibly hollow. They will constantly compare the new supply to the deep, authentic connection they threw away. And the new person will always fall short. You were the one who held space for their darkness. You listened to their sob stories and offered genuine compassion. Finding someone with that specific depth of empathy is incredibly rare. When they finally realize that they discarded a diamond to pick up a worthless rock, the regret hits them like a freight train. But their fragile ego will absolutely never admit it. Instead of taking accountability, they double down on the delusion. They spin wild narratives, casting themselves as the tragic victim and you as the cruel villain. It is a pathetic performance meant to convince the world, and themselves, that they are perfectly fine. But the louder they shout, the more obvious their inner panic becomes. They are terrified of the silence. In the quiet moments of the night, when the audience is gone and the distractions fade, the truth finally creeps in. They are haunted by the ghost of your absence. They remember the warmth they destroyed. This is the narcissist's ultimate punishment. They are cursed to wander through life, perpetually thirsty, knowing they deliberately poisoned the only clean well they had. Their entire identity is built on a very fragile house of cards. Your love was the gravity holding it all together. Once you remove that foundation, the structure inevitably begins to sway. The masks they wear start to feel heavy. The energy required to maintain the grand illusion becomes completely exhausting. They are fighting a losing battle against their own emptiness. You see, crossing an empath is not just a mistake, it is an act of psychological suicide for a narcissist. You were their ultimate emotional regulator. You processed their negative feelings so they wouldn't have to. Without you, they are totally exposed to the brutal elements of their own unhealed trauma. The pain they tried to outsource to you finally returns to sender. It is a slow, quiet descent into absolute madness. They might look fine on social media, posting happy pictures with their new victims. But do not let the digital facade fool you for a single second. Behind the filters and the fake smiles, they are slowly drowning in a sea of paranoia and regret. They know they blew it. They know they lost the best thing they ever had. This realization acts like a corrosive acid on their already fragile ego. They try to suppress it, drowning it in shallow distractions and temporary validation. But the truth is incredibly relentless. It whispers to them when they look in the mirror. It tells them that they are broken, empty, and entirely incapable of real love. And they know that you finally see it too. The dramatic turning point always happens when they try to pull you back in. They will test the waters with a tiny text, a manufactured crisis, or a seemingly innocent question. It is a calculated Hoover maneuver, designed to see if you are still emotionally bleeding for them. In the past, this is exactly where you would have completely folded. But this time is different. This time, you look at their message and feel absolutely nothing. No panic, no overwhelming guilt, just a profound sense of cold detachment. You see the manipulation shining through the words like a neon sign. That silence, that utter lack of a reaction, is the most terrifying sound a narcissist can ever hear. It tells them that their dark magic no longer works on you. When they realize the supply is truly cut off, the panic sets in. It is a visceral, primal fear of abandonment. They will escalate their tactics, alternating between pathetic begging and vicious, unhinged rage. It is like watching a toddler throw a tantrum because their favorite toy was taken away. Only this toddler is wearing an adult suit and desperately seeking control. They might launch a brutal smear campaign, trying to destroy your reputation before you can expose their true nature. They will tell everyone who will listen that you are the crazy one. Let them talk. The people who matter will see right through the desperate charade. Their frantic efforts to control the narrative only expose how completely terrified they actually are. As you stand your ground, a beautiful shift occurs. The energy that they spent years draining from you suddenly begins to flood back into your system. You start remembering who you were before they infected your life. It is an awakening, a powerful reclamation of your own soul. You realize that you never actually needed them, they were entirely dependent on you to survive. This is the plot twist they never saw coming. They thought they were breaking a weak victim, but they were actually forging a mighty warrior. Every lie, every betrayal, every gaslighting attempt was just resistance training for your spirit. You are emerging from the fire not as ashes, but as pure, hardened steel. They created the exact weapon that defeated their control. Watching this transformation is absolute torture for them. They see you thriving, healing, and moving forward without them. Your success is a glaring spotlight on their catastrophic failure. They desperately want to believe that you are miserable, that you cannot possibly survive without their toxic presence. Your happiness is the ultimate insult to their inflated ego. They will obsessively stalk your social media, looking for any tiny crack in your armor. They want to find evidence that you are secretly mourning the loss of their terrible abuse. But all they find is someone who is finally breathing free air. Your genuine peace drives them completely insane because peace is the one thing they can never, ever achieve in their own life. They realize that they didn't just lose a partner, they lost their absolute best source of vital life force. You were the golden goose, and in their greedy arrogance, they slaughtered you. Now, they are left holding a handful of bloody feathers, staring into the cold, empty void of their own miserable existence. The game is over, and they decisively lost everything. The shift in power is now permanent. You have taken back the remote control to your own mind. They are no longer the director of your life's movie. They have been permanently recast as a minor, unfortunate character in your incredibly powerful backstory. They fade into irrelevance, while you step out of the shadows and fully into the brilliant light of your own future. Now we enter the phase of their inevitable collapse. This is not some karmic fantasy, it is exactly how their psychological operating system is built. When a narcissist loses a high-grade empath, their internal world starts to heavily fragment. They cannot process the profound loss because that would require acknowledging they made a colossal mistake. And they just cannot. The consequences manifest in very real, human ways. You might hear that they lost their job, or that their new relationships keep imploding in spectacular fashion. Without your stabilizing presence, their chaotic nature spills out into every single area of their life. The mask slips in front of colleagues, friends, and family. The world finally starts to see the monster. They begin to rapidly age, physically and spiritually. The stress of maintaining the grand illusion without your beautiful energy takes a massive toll on them. Their eyes lose that predatory sparkle, replaced by a dull, vacant stare of perpetual exhaustion. They look like a hollow shell because that is exactly what they are. The darkness inside is eating them completely. You start to see the pathetic reality of their existence. They are trapped in a never-ending cycle of using and discarding, always searching for a fix but never finding true satisfaction. It is a miserable, lonely way to live. You stop feeling angry and start feeling a deep, heavy pity. You realize they are living in a self-made prison of their own toxic, fragile ego. The harsh truth is that they are emotionally dead. They cannot experience real joy, true intimacy, or authentic connection. Everything is fake. Everything is a carefully rehearsed performance. When they lost you, they lost their only lifeline to humanity. They severed the cord themselves, and now they are just drifting aimlessly in a cold, vast ocean of total emptiness. They will spend the rest of their pathetic life chasing the ghost of the love you freely offered. They will look for your kindness in strangers' eyes, only to find disappointment. They will try to extract your level of devotion from people who simply do not have it to give. It is a tragic, Sisyphean punishment, rolling a boulder up a hill only to have it crush them daily. You, on the other hand, begin to understand the immense value of what you actually bring to the table. If your love could sustain a literal energy vampire for all those years, imagine what it can do when you pour it into yourself. You begin to guard your heart like the precious treasure it is. You no longer hand out VIP passes to your soul to completely unworthy people. The emotional truth of this journey is incredibly heavy, but it is deeply necessary. You had to go through that intense darkness to finally understand the blinding power of your own light. They were a brutal lesson disguised as a soulmate. But once the lesson is fully learned, the teacher becomes entirely obsolete. You never have to repeat that horrible cycle ever again. They thought they broke you, but they only broke the fragile shell that was keeping you so small. You outgrew them. You outgrew the need to constantly save broken people at the expense of your own beautiful sanity. You realize that your empathy is a gift meant for those who can reciprocate it, not a free buffet for starving emotional predators lurking in the dark shadows. As the dust finally settles, the stark contrast between your two lives becomes undeniable. You are building a life of authentic peace, surrounded by people who love you for exactly who you are. They are stuck playing the exact same exhausting games, getting older, getting more bitter, and becoming increasingly isolated. The devastating collapse is finally complete. We are transitioning now from the darkness of their collapse to the grounded reality of your incredible empowerment. The pain you endured was absolutely real, and it is entirely okay to mourn the time and energy you lost. But do not stay in that grief for too long. You have survived an emotional war zone, and you walked out with your beautiful soul completely intact. You need to understand that their inability to love you was never about your worth. It was always about their profound lack of capacity. You were trying to teach advanced calculus to someone who refuses to learn basic addition. It was an impossible task from the very beginning. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the heavy belief that you could have somehow saved them. Your empathy is not a terrible weakness. It is your ultimate superpower. It is the very thing that allowed you to feel the truth, process the trauma, and eventually walk away. Do not let their toxic abuse harden your beautiful heart. The world desperately needs your light. You just have to learn how to aggressively protect it with strong, unapologetic boundaries now. As you continue to heal, you will notice a profound shift in how you navigate the world. You can spot the red flags from a mile away. The charming smiles and sob stories no longer instantly lower your defenses. You have developed a highly tuned radar for manipulation. You are no longer prey. You are a wise, grounded observer who strictly dictates who gets your time. There will be days when the memories sting, when a random song or place brings back a sudden wave of complicated sadness. Let it wash over you, and then let it gently pass. Healing is not a perfectly straight line. It is a spiral staircase. You might revisit the same feelings, but you are experiencing them from a much higher, safer perspective than you were before. You are actively rewriting the narrative of your life. The chapter where they played the starring role is officially closed, gathering dust on a forgotten shelf. The new chapters are filled with your own voice, your own desires, and your own unshakable peace. You are the sole author now, and you get to decide exactly how this beautiful story unfolds from here on out. Think about the incredible strength it took to pull yourself out of that dark abyss. You rebuilt your entirely shattered reality with your own two hands. That level of resilience is extraordinarily rare. You should be so deeply proud of the person staring back at you in the mirror. They survived the absolute unimaginable, and they are still standing incredibly tall today. Let this be the absolute end of the invisible emotional tether that kept you connected to their dark chaos. Cut the cord. Release them to their own miserable fate. You have so much beautiful life left to live, and they do not deserve another second of your precious time. Step fully into your own power. Embrace the quiet, steady peace that comes with total liberation. They crossed an empath, and in doing so, they lost the only real thing they ever had. They gambled with your beautiful heart and went completely bankrupt. Let them live in the ruins of their own terrible choices. Your only job now is to violently protect your peace and fiercely love the incredible person you have become. The storm is over. The sky is finally clear. You are no longer the victim of their tragic story. You are the undisputed hero of your own. You walked through the fire, learned the hardest lessons, and emerged untouched by their dark decay. They have to live with themselves forever, and that is their curse. But you finally get to live with you, and that is your ultimate victory. You won the war by walking away.